Thank you very much, Dr. Murray. And thank you also for reminding all of us that the time limit is 15 minutes. I'll try very hard. I think I paced myself yesterday trying to rehearse what I have to say today, and it went about 17 or 18 minutes, but I'm sure I'll be able to I'll be able to cut that down. And of course, then we have our friend here who's going to help us.
And if you tip him, he'll go slower.
Yes, yes. Quick introduction about myself, because of course I have many friends here, including my very dear friend Akbar Ahmed, Ambassador Akbar Ahmed, and his charming wife, Zeenat Ahmed, here. So it's been wonderful and energizing for me to meet them and to reunite with them. We have not met for a couple of years. And you heard him today. And it's always wonderful to hear him and to learn from his vast knowledge about about diverse subjects. I myself, we've had parallel careers in the past. We both joined the civil services of Pakistan. He in the civil service and myself in the foreign service. And I got to know him quite well because they put us in one big room. So we were roommates there. And he was working all the time and reading all these very learned journals. And once and twice he would turn around to me and say, "What does that particular word mean?" And most of the time, of course, I couldn't answer him. But it's so wonderful to see you, Akbar. Thank you. I was a diplomat for 33 years, career diplomat for Pakistan in various countries. And then I was very fortunate to start working for the School of Diplomacy and International Relations at Seton University, where I've been teaching for nearly 15 years. So that's basically my background. And I attended the GPF meeting last December in Kuala Lumpur, which was an eye-opener for me to see the wonderful work that GPF does. And that brings me, when I was invited, that brings me here. Now I'm going to flag these three issues which all of us know, but I think they bear flagging. Are there essential values that we agree on the basis of cohesion within our diverse society? How can faith leaders work together to rebuild a consensus on shared values? Point number 2, how can faith communities in America work together to promote a more wholesome and healthy society? And thirdly, the old discussion and controversy about church and state. This is what the panelists in this session have been required to address themselves. And I'm going to quickly give you my views. And I'm giving you my views as a layman. I don't claim to be an expert in civics or this part of political theory. Given the history of the United States, it's not at all surprising that it has become a melting pot. From the earliest settlers, the Jamestown colony in the 17th century, to really the 20th century, or even earlier when immigration started or was opened up from Europe, to then being opened up to the rest of the world, resulted in the United States being a pluralist society, which was quoted earlier, e pluribus unum. And this has been wonderful because it showed an openness by the leadership of this country that as long as we abide by the laws of this country, as long as we work hard and we are citizens, productive citizens, we were made to feel welcome in the United States. I can tell you this is something that should never be underestimated, especially today when you see in Europe how they are trying to curb migration. After calling these people from the rest of the world, today they want to put barriers. The United States has been outstanding, and we should all be proud of that. But the question is about essential values. Now, I was somewhat puzzled as to why we are opening this question of essential values. Because all of us know what are the essential values on which the United States is based. And these were mentioned earlier. The Declaration of Independence, the US Constitution, the interpretations of these two vital documents by the Supreme Court. Therefore, to me, I think spending too much time on essential values may not be so productive. In fact, it could become counterproductive. Because in a sense, we know tolerance, the ability to have different points of view, and equality, including the ambition and the objective of economic equality, all these principles have been enshrined in our Constitution and other important legal documents. Now I want to talk to you a little about the second point, about creating a wholesome and healthy society. And here I must mention that the 9/11 tragedy was something that really affected one segment of this society, which is growing, of which, of course, Dr. Akbar Ahmed has written extensively on, and that's the Muslim community here, the Islamic community. And it is quite understandable that given the wave of anger and ignorance, certain things were said, or rather certain impressions were created, which gave the feeling that this attack by those 19 hijackers, 15 of whom were Saudis, by the way, Saudi Arabian, meant that they came from a violent culture, a violent religion. And I think that was very much further from the truth, because as has been pointed out earlier, the two qualities that have been emphasized again and again in Islam, in the Quran, and in the life of Prophet Muhammad are tolerance, mercy, and compassion, especially mercy and compassion. So either these tenets are wrong, or we don't give them the due heed that is required. The vast majority of Muslims, I need to point out here, rejected bin Laden's perverse philosophy. He became a fugitive, and he was hiding for a few years, completely incommunicado, of no use to the world, and finally he was hunted down. I have written here, a similar fate is likely in store for Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the self-appointed caliph of the so-called Islamic State. Already Muslim and non-Muslim leaders in the United States, the Middle East, and elsewhere have unequivocally condemned ISIS for its atrocious actions in parts of Syria and Iraq. I don't think we should unnecessarily inflate the threat from ISIS. It's a guerrilla group, it's an insurgent group with messianic ideas of the worst kind. And in the Middle East, having a base in Syria and Iraq, it's for the people of Iraq and Syria basically to fight and get rid of them. Like the Iraqis did before in 2000 and 2007 and 2008, similarly rebels were defeated by the Iraqis, the so-called Sunni awakening I am referring to. Now I'd like to refer to a couple of documents which help us to understand that there is, our values have been further carried on, further progressed by these two documents. One is by Os Guinness. He's a very well-known writer, and he came out with the Global Charter of Global Charter of Conscience. And he says that only through the wise and courageous, I'm quoting from the Charter, only through the wise and courageous application of these affirmations can humanity turn the danger of the differences between ultimate beliefs into a dignity of difference that will help make the world safer for diversity. The other document which has really struck me, and I'm sure many of you are aware of this document, is Karen Armstrong's Charter for Compassion. Wonderful document. You can access it on the internet if you are not aware of it. The important thing about Karen Armstrong is that she's one of the foremost scholars of interfaith religions, a great expert, a great humanist, and so on. And there are many chapters in the United States, cities which have signed on to this charter. So I think it's very important for the Charter of Compassion to be further publicized. And the charter proclaims the golden rule. The golden rule, as we all know, says, do unto others as we would like others to do unto us. And it's a very, very important document, and it is totally in consonance with the ideals and values that we would like to see here in the United States. Of course, at the UN level, there has been interfaith dialogue. There was the Khatami Initiative. There was the Spanish Prime Minister's Initiative. The Saudi King had an interfaith meeting in New York. These are all useful because they bring together religious leaders from different persuasions. And we can follow these, and this should become a regular feature at the political level. But the real work has to be done by you and I at the grassroots level. The leaders come and go. They have a very nice conference at the UN or in their capital. A very nice declaration is issued, and then it's back home. We carry on with our lives. But at the grassroots, if we carry on working like the GPF works day after day in Nigeria, in Latin America, in Guatemala, in other countries, that's where a lasting impact can be made for interfaith dialogue and for getting to know people, for understanding, and for tolerance. I was much taken about interfaith dialogue in practice. That's the final part of my presentation today. I got to know at an event in New York a few months back a Jewish woman named Joyce Schriebman. I had recently the pleasure of meeting her through my friend Yehezkel Landau, who is a professor at the Hartford Seminary. On researching Schriebman's website, My Brother from Another Mother. So this is now Sarah and Hagar, and so the Arabs and the Christians, we are both stepbrothers. My brother from another mother. I learned that this lady, Joyce Schriebman, whom I have met, studies at a Quran class every Friday morning with her Muslim friends and prays at Reform Synagogue on Friday nights with her Jewish friends. This can be emulated by all of us in the interfaith community, that we try to study the practices of religions other than ours, and we will immediately be struck by the similarity and the commonality of our religions. I think this will do a lot to allay misconceptions, suspicions, and misunderstandings that we may have about each other. The other things that we can do, this is the call for action, which I'm anticipating. It will be finalized later today. I would like the interfaith personalities to address joint meetings. A Christian and a Muslim and a Jew, a Christian and a Jew, jointly. You see, when the two people from different faith communities stand together and they say, this is what we believe in, they're talking about their commonalities. Nothing is to stop them from talking about their differences too. I think it makes a huge difference that basically people of faith, we have faith. We also have faith in each other. We have faith that we can meet each other, talk to each other, open out to each other. This is very important. Visiting each other's places of worship makes a very big difference. Christians and Jews going to mosques for the Friday prayers. Muslims and Christians going to synagogues, going to churches. The moment you go to the place of worship of another religion, you meet the colleagues in prayer, you realize that they are doing exactly what you do in your own place of worship. Final point. I'm so glad the hand's not up, but he's looking a bit ominous. Finally, organizations involved in interfaith work could achieve their goals more expeditiously by building synergy, by forming coalitions with like-minded organizations. I say this from my own knowledge of how the UN Convention banning landmines was achieved through the active collaboration of a number of NGOs working together to lobby governments until success was achieved. Nobel laureate Jody Williams, a private individual, played a major role in achieving this landmark convention. Similarly, the establishment of the International Criminal Court was made possible through the banding together of a number of NGOs who lobbied governments to agree to the establishment of this crucial institution. I would like to think that the interfaith NGOs could emulate the strategies that followed in the two cases cited above. And now, very finally, I'm going to quote President Kennedy. I think he was one of the best leaders that our country has had. This is from his commencement address, delivered at American University, where my friend teaches, in June 1963, just a few months before he was cruelly taken away from us. Quote, this is a small quote. So, let us not be blind to our differences, but let us also direct our attention to our common interests and to means by which those differences can be resolved. And if we cannot end now our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future. And we are all mortal. Thank you.